Hey y'all, it's Arwen, and I am here to do another tarot tag. Everybody said they wanted one, so yay! Right now I'm looking over here because I'm trying to get my tarot tag open so I can read them. I do have the questions posted in the drop down for you because I prefer that. Now I keep calling it a tarot tag, and I know that technically I'm supposed to tag people, but if you're watching this, tag, you're it. So if you feel like joining in, please do. And you don't have to tag anybody in your video, just do what I did. Tag, you're it, and tell everybody to join in. And the last one I did 15 questions. This time I'm only doing 10. But I hope you enjoy them. I had some fun coming up with them, and I had a little help too. Thank you. Um, but let's see how many people we can get in the contest. Last time we had like 63 total. So it was really awesome. Now, I am doing a contest. The contest winner will win a half-hour video chat reading with me via Google Hangout. So, fingers crossed. Now, what's your primary reason for pulling out the cards? Well, for me, right now it's clients. Sometimes it's developing a new spread because I love to develop new spreads. It just brings me so much joy. Um, But usually it's for reading for somebody else. Sometimes if I'm reading for me, I'll just do what I'm doing right now. I'll just kind of unfocus my mind, which is what I'm doing by yappity, yappity, yapping, and shuffling the cards, and then just cutting randomly to see what I get. Ah, Mom, the universe is mocking me again. I'm trying to do too much today. So, I mean, I've still got a dirty kitchen. I've got household things I've got to get done, and I've got another interview coming up later today. So, focus is very good. Oh, and I left my water in the other room. Just realized that. Gosh darn it. Oh, well, I don't edit, so I can't go get it and come back and clip. Question 2. Do you use tarot in any other way other than readings, i.e., spells, crafts, fancy hat making? Well, I don't do crafts and I don't do fancy hat making. For really fabulous hats, check out Raven Flower Designs on squareup.com. She can make you a hat, baby. But I use it for writing. I use it for spell work. Um, I actually teach a class that a lot of people take for when they're working on fiction books, and it's 33 days to finish the damn book. I'll put a link in the drop down so that if you want to go see it, you can. It's a $33 self-paced e-course. But that's primarily what I do other than reading, I guess, is and journaling. I use them a lot for journaling. One of my things is I love to pull a card, like an oracle card. See if I can grab an oracle deck really quickly. And I'll just pull a random oracle card and see what it says. Well, it's kind of, my camera isn't focusing, y'all, and I apologize. Lily, majesty and virtue. The lily is the emblem rare of many virtues, good and rare. And so what I might do from there is use that and kind of journal just the 5 minutes. Natalie Goldberg, just auto journal for 5 minutes. You don't pick your pen up or your pencil off the paper. And then I go back and read it. And, from there, I would try to find a question. And from that question, I would then go and pull a tarot card. So, like, how can I best manifest virtue today? And I got justice. Why are you not focusing? Why are you only focusing on my fingernail? Okay, but justice kind of speaks for itself. Do the work, do the right work, virtue, justice. It's kind of a no-brainer for me, but that's one of the ways I use tarot other than for interpretive readings. Interpretive dance. Interpretive dance, actually, Jennifer Lucero Lucero, I think, it's Earl Lucero, does amazing arcana manifestation dance. She's out on the West Coast. If you're anywhere near her, go take a class. Amazing stuff. 3, if you use tarot as your magical practice, can you share some examples? Yes. I actually have a ongoing working over here using an oracle card from Ethne Dawn's Awakened Souls Rescue. Had a friend who was in a kind of crappy place, and so I did a working to get her out of that place at her request. And I leave the card there as my reminder to feed that energy. I do spreads as spell work often. I will try to think about what it is I need. And sometimes when I'm crafting the spell, I'm not really sure about the minutia, and I'll use tarot for that. That's one of the ways I use spreads in a magical way. I actually have a spread. I've talked about it before, Matron Patron. That's a magical spread, and I actually do prayer before it and all sorts of stuff. 4, how do you explain what tarot is when someone asks you? Caveat, assuming it's in a well-meaning way. I'm not really interested in hearing how we cut down the idiots. We all know how. Boring. I want to hear the good stuff. So how do I explain what tarot is when somebody asks me? First thing I do is I tell it's 78 pieces of artwork. It's an intuitive tool that helps me open my intuition and allows me to have a conversation and tell you a story about yourself using this tool. So it's a storytelling tool for me in a lot of ways, but that's generally how I would introduce it to the unknowing public, the innocent, I guess, innocent, whatever word you want to use, but the unknowing that, they haven't learned yet. 5, what's your favorite spread to use and why? Well, Arwen, that's a crappy question because you have a lot of spreads. I have a couple. I'm going to give you 2. I'm going to try to follow my own rules. My main spread is the one you see on tarot scopes. Main issue, what's going to help the energy, what's going to hinder the energy. Boom. There's also a spread called A Walk in the Woods. It's by gosh, I can't think of her name, but I found it on eclectic.net. That's Celandia's site. And it's a beautiful spread, and it works for me every time. And it's a story spread. I mean, you step out of your door, you hear a crack. That crack represents this. You see this, it represents that. And you walk through the woods. It's called A Walk in the Woods. And it's just a lovely little spread. I've done it for a lot of people in my day, and really everybody enjoys it a lot. It's like 6 cards. It's a nice spread. I prefer small spreads. When I get into these great big 13, 14 card spreads, it makes my head hurt. But I do things like I'll do a couple reading where I use 3 decks. I have each person send me their astrological chart. I lay cards in a different, and then we lay one for each of them, one for the couple. It's a lot. It's generally about a 2-3 hour session. So 6, name a famous, currently living person who embodies one of the following cards for you. Hermit, Star, or Justice. Just one card and one person is fine. Is it really interesting for me because when I pick those cards, I just drew random major arcana. Let the tarot ask that question. So, Hermit, no, I guess I would do Star. And I'm going to go with a really big name, really, probably copacetic everywhere, quintessential star. And that's Lady Gaga. And I choose her because the energy of the star is about reaching your goals, right? Taking yourself from here and seeing those goals up there. And she really did that, right? I mean, she put on a new persona. She went out there and just lit up the music world. I'm not a music fan. Okay, I'm not a music person. I like wallpaper music. My taste in music is kind of 85 and back. All of these things. But Lady Gaga really is the star for me. She really embodies that hitting your goals and making it. 7. Have you ever read in a crowded, noisy, chaotic environment? Hell to the yeah. I've read in bars. One of my favorite gigs was in Austin, where I read at a bar called Gibson's for their Halloween event, and they had a live band going called Magnifico, who I believe are still they're a Queen cover band. And so I was reading for people in costumes. I had music going. I moved inside. They had the TVs going. It was crazy. I read at a gay bar in Colorado Springs. Similar, actually. I think it was also a Halloween night. People, tarot can be a party event other than Halloween. Um, so yeah, I've read at a lot of chaotic events. One of my fun ones was for the company Retail Me Not. They had a big company party, and they had March 4th as the band. And this band, they had acrobats, and the guy who actually kind of organized the party was an ex Cirque du Soleil person, if that tells you anything. We had acrobats, we had stilt walkers, we had 2 tarot readers, myself and one of my good friends were there, and it was crazy noisy. I mean, you were like, what? What? Trying to get the, the information. Um, but it's fun. And I think that when you do the second part of the question is how did it go for you? Really well, actually. Generally, after those, I just crash and burn. But I've learned when I'm doing any kind of a gig, I take food and water. Now, some of these gigs are great. They make sure you get water. You know, they'll come by if they've got hors d'oeuvres and offer you something. Sometimes they get too busy and they don't think about the hired help, and that's cool. The hired help needs to think about themselves. 8, do you do any type of ritual, meaning repetitive, do it every time, and or spiritual before you read? I do. I generally I have to clear my desk or clean my desk if I have like lipstick tissues all over the place, which I do. I need to get those cleared off. I want to have my environment like less cluttered. I'll bring some crystals down that are important. This crystal I've been working with a lot lately, just holding her. You'll see me in a lot of my interviews holding her, or I'm holding my new uh, zoicide, I believe it is. Um, and then when I'm working, when I'm doing a reading professionally, when I'm talking to my client's going to see my hands doing this because I'm just kind of meditating as we talk. And I always have an initial opening session. You don't call me and it's 30 minutes, boom, we're going. I have maybe 2 to 5 minutes chat with you about what it is you need and what you know about tarot and all of that sort of thing. And then I start the clock, and I've started doing a breathing exercise before I do a client reading when I have a client with me. If I'm just doing an email, I still do a breathing exercise. My matron patron involves a little more. There's prayer, there's invocations, there's stuff that happens in that one because it's more of a ritualized reading than a reading that requires a ritual. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, I definitely have, and I also the way we begin is ritualized because I do the same thing every time. I tell somebody, my client, tell me when to stop. You're left-handed, right-handed. And why I ask that is I want you to cut the cards with your non-power hand towards your power hand. And if you're not here, then I'm doing that for you. And then we're going to put the cards together, and I'm going to say, give me a number between 1 and 10. Boom, we're into the reading. 9, draw a question, a card, draw a question. Draw a card to answer this question. What is my next best step, universe? And yeah, this is the only card that I was going to pull a different deck, but this is my go-to deck, y'all, my Gaian. It's the Gaian Tarot by Joanna Colbert, and it is in print from Shipper. I don't know if Joanna has any limited editions left or not. Okay, so what is my next best step, universe? And when I do it for me, I just cut one time. I get the lovely Ten of Water. Let's see if we can get it to focus. There we go. So the Ten of Water in this deck, it's a Ten of Cups. It shows salmon who've gone upstream, salmon who've gone downstream, salmon who finished what they're doing, and salmon who are in process. And the Ten of Water is the Ten of Cups in most decks, right? So it's a card of happily ever after, but this card is about cycles. It's about remembering to go up and come back. And so what this is telling me is that my next best step is to remember the cycles, or remember the connections that I want to keep going in my world. I'm going to be a little vague about it. I'm going to vague book because I know what it's saying, but it's not something I really want to talk about on camera. It's a good thing, okay? The last, how do you think you can personally improve your reading skills? For me, that would be by teaching. I want to teach more. I had a 10-week class. I think that I'm going to change it over into a different format where you get a book, you print a book out for yourself, more like what Benabelle's doing right now. I'm really loving her work. I've done her planner. I just signed up for her astrology course. So I really think that I'm going to do that, and it'll drop the pricing because I won't be as involved as I was with the other class. So I think that's what I need to do, is to teach more, keep working with different decks and doing my comparative stuff, and maybe get my tarot teaching videos up a little bit more today. I think I've stopped at the 7s. So that is what I can do to personally improve my own reading skills. Thank you for watching. I'm Arwen, the professional joy seeker, and reminding you, please do this hashtag. Seek joy, y'all. Pass it on.